Hey everyone, Encore Performance here, back with another video. Today, we'll be completing the second campaign of the Mountain Royals DLC, Thoros. We begin with Thoros. Having just escaped the Byzantine court where we spent many years as a hostage, we now return to our homeland in order to rally our troops and stand up to the Byzantine oppression. After gathering a couple pikemen and longswordsmen, at least they will be momentarily after we get our upgrades, we can march on the nearby castle. The castle itself isn't actually our enemy, but we must kill the surrounding garrison. However, through some careful micro and patience, we're able to do this fairly easy, and then gain an economy and the castle itself. That's been done. The Selujuks, the nearby Selujuks, are going to make us a very interesting offer. They say that if we rescue their cart for them that was taken by the Byzantines, they'll reward us. So we're going to do this. But first, we're going to build mule carts at each of these groups of grey villagers. Once the mule cart's constructed, the villagers will switch to ours, which not only saves us time on the TC constructing said villagers, but also the cost of them, so it's quite a good deal. Once that's done, we'll wall off our economy to prevent any of our villagers being killed by a stray Byzantine unit, which of course would defeat the whole purpose of doing this without losses, and then begin working towards rescuing that cart for the Selujuks. In order to do that though, we're going to need Stefan as an ally, and he will do such thing if we give him 10 infantry units. Lucky for us, we have our 10 pikemen from the start, so we'll send them there, and then Stefan will become quite the valuable ally and instantly begin attacking the Byzantines for us. Said Byzantines, they'll now begin to attack us, but with a good quick wall, we're alright. We'll then build demolitions and fire ships on the water, where we'll be able to kill the odd Byzantine ships sat here. Once they've been killed, we'll have the entire Mediterranean Sea free for fishing, which is going to be very good for our food. We'll build a tower close to where the cart is, in order to snipe a couple of the units guarding it, and then, using Thoros, we'll be able to lure the rest of them into the tower's range, before finally freeing the cart and taking it to the Selujuks. Taking the cart to the Selujuks, the Byzantines are going to launch quite the assault. Lucky for us, we have a trick up our sleeve. Using the new Armenians unique unit, the Composite Bowman, which ignores some pierce armor, we're able to eject all of our archers and actually shred these rams pretty quick, at least faster than our towers and castles would. When it has arrived, the Selujuks will reward us with 2 of their trebuchets. We'll use these trebuchets with our composite bowmans around them in box formation to make it look cool, and Thoros at the front to destroy one of the 2 Byzantine castles we need to destroy in order to be victorious. And while there are 3 on the map, we'll take this one first, right next to Stefan, so his unit's going to actually help a little bit. Then, we'll take the nearest one, north of our main base. All we must do is wall off the Byzantine gate, wall off the crossing over here, and then build a castle, which isn't really necessary, but just to make sure things go well, before bringing our 2 trebuchets up, in order to destroy the second of the 2 Byzantine castles we need. It's victorious, but first, I'd had an idea. So in the top right, my objectives had said either retrieve the cart for the Selujuks or raise the trading post. So I had the genius idea, if I raise it now, maybe I'll still get the resources. I did not, but I did raise most of the trading outposts, which obviously couldn't have left the Selujuks very happy. We are then deemed victorious for this first mission without a single loss, even though that monk there comes pretty close, but as an immortal. Loading into the second mission, it's going to be almost a regicide themed mission, just times 5, as we're going to have to kill 5 Byzantine generals. First though, we'll have to pick who to lead the auxiliary forces. Our options are Melee, who will play it economic, or Stefan, who will play it aggressive. Of course we're going to choose Stefan, since Melee sounds like the kind of guy to hide behind his walls. Once we pick Stefan, Stefan will return to his base and begin building a considerable amount of military, while we begin building our economy. We'll have to wall this crossing here to prevent any Byzantine cataphracts from getting in. Crossing over here to make sure, as mentioned before, none of our villagers are going to be dying to any pesky cataphracts. Now, if we build fortified churches in each of these villagers will actually tribute us resources, which is obviously going to be good. And our first church that we build as the Armenians is going to start with a relic, which again is going to just help boost our economy just ever so slightly. We should be careful building these churches because, like this one on the screen, we almost lose the villager building it. However, we garrison the villager and Teal goes right past onwards to our castle, where his feudal age units don't fare so well. Save the Scorpion, of course. On the front of the base, while yellow goes pretty all out, considering he's got his halberdiers in the castle age, which is pretty OP when you're fighting not even castle age units quite yet, and is going to steamroll the beginning of teal. We'll finish our gates up on the front and then build a castle in order to help him and just defend his gold miners since they're pretty exposed. Looks like most of my Arabia gold spawns. We're going to attempt to wall in yellow and ice bases so we'll be able to trade. We have a close encounter with some purple Hussars. It's not quite a Hera or Viper quick wall, but it'll do. We managed to get it up. We'll then build a tower inside to deal with said Hussars, even though yellow seems to be doing a pretty good job. Done, we're able to get our trade up and bolstering with a considerable amount. We'll have to delete these buildings that are in the way so we can have the optimal trade route, considering we want our population space to be counting for all it's worth. Once that's been done, we'll build a defensive castle. However, to cancel out us being on the defensive, we'll go on the offensive with our next castle and build it right up closest to the first Byzantine general. Last scenario will be limited to the castle age throughout all of this one, so we'll be forced to take down the Byzantine castle with our own castles. However, we'll garrison them full of archers in order to increase the fire rate, and we'll be able to kill that first Byzantine general, putting us at 1 out of 5. We'll go 1-to-1 with that ratio, as we'll sally our archers out of the castles, and then come forward with yellow in order to kill this Byzantine general that wandered just a little bit too far out of his camp. That now puts us at 2 out of 5. Good on the gold between our first relic we already have at home and our absurd amount of trade. We're actually going to secure this next relic, while just about finishing off that Byzantine castle with our castles. We can then come forward and help yellow to finish off what remains of Teal's camp. Once that's been done, he'll resign, leaving us simply against the Byzantines. After joining all of our archers together into an absurd amount of 60 composite archers, which unfortunately, composite bowmen, which unfortunately are castle age units, so they're lacking chemistry, bracer, etc. So they're not quite perfect, but they're pretty close. We'll be able to kill any army that comes up against us, and kill what purple buildings remain to slow his production even further. As yellow goes on the offensive, we must aid him with our archers. However, the purple defensive buildings, such as his towers and castles, will target the closest unit. So as long as we are sure not to get too close, we'll be able to help him quite significantly with our firepower of 60 composite bowmen. We also have a couple warrior priests in the back to make sure all of these bowmen are being healed to full HP. Our priority is to help against towers and what rams the Byzantines build, as otherwise the Byzantine rams will engage Stefan's rams in ram combat, which is never a good fight for the attacker. The camp has been dealt with, and yellow's lost all of his rams. We can go around the side and kill our third Byzantine general, crossing us over the halfway point. Yellow pushed further though. We will help him with this ginormous army he's amassed, with the castle age infantry upgrades coming in really well here as we see champions. We can then, as long as we keep our archers behind us, just help provide support against these blue units and make sure that he succeeds with his mission, which he inevitably will, bringing this purple castle to the ground and allowing yellow to push another Byzantine camp. This allows yellow to focus his attention elsewhere, but it also allows our villagers, composite bowmen, and warrior priests to do the same. We'll build the castle up in this hill to kill the majority of the Byzantine generals' garrison. However, the Byzantine generals have a tendency, once shot, to abandon their troops and run away, which sounds like a lot of the historical programs I listen to. However, we can then send in the composite bowmen to finish the job and kill that general, putting us at 4 out of 5. All that's left for us to do is to kill the 5th one. However, Stefan has been sitting at his base, hearing about us bringing in all of this glory, sort of as a Pompey to our Julius Caesar, and he feels rather jealous. So Stefan is going to charge into the nearest Byzantine camp for him, which is located in the west of the map, and kill the Byzantine general on his own, gathering himself some glory as well. Inevitably, this will help us to complete our objectives, so we're okay with it, and that completes the scenario for us as an Immortal. Losses and more kills than Stefan. In the third mission, caught in the crossfire, we'll first be assaulted by the Knights Templar, then Reynald de Chatillon. Later on though, we might have to deal with the Seljuks, as I think they're still a little bit upset about their trading outpost. For the first part of this mission, we're going to have to play it very defensive, so we'll start walling up and send Thoros to go find an old friend. Simon then offers us, for in return of taking him to his ship, he'll grant us his old musty fortress, which still seems in pretty good shape to me. On top of that, we'll have access to some well-defended, easily mineable gold, and a relic. We can also instantly get this relic by quickly rushing into the Knights Templar's base and stealing it, as they won't have built a monk to grab it themselves yet, or have much military at the beginning of the game. We have to build a castle at the front of our base to be able to mine our gold safely, and then one on the opposite side in order to protect our lumberjacks and stone miners, as not only will the enemy send many melee units to attack us, they'll send many monks, which will be able to convert our villagers from afar. Thankfully, our castle will mow the old men down before they can begin chanting about religion. After constructing the castles in record-breaking time for medieval fortresses, we're able to take Simon, load him onto our transport ship, and then take him to his ship. Once there, he'll perform the quickest clothing switch I've ever seen, switching back to his teal cape, and, as mentioned, we'll get some villagers at his base, all of that nice gold, and another relic to bring in 30 gold a minute. Our castle seemed to be struggling between Red's onslaught of units and then the spamming of Blue's knights and skirmishers, so we'll build a couple crossbows from these archery ranges to garrison within our castle, adding many additional arrows, making it, as I like to call it, a medieval machine gun castle. Then, in anticipation of the Seljuks being displeased with us, we attempt to wall them in. However, this displeases them further, but if we build our walls just a little ways back, it's out of the range of his towers, so we can't quite see it, meaning he'll tolerate it. Once up to the Imperial Age, we'll build a couple Dramens. These are going to be critical, as our current objective is to destroy 2 of the Crusader castles. One of them is located right on the water. So, after having a close call with our transport ship, we're able to kill the red ships, then finish off that shoreline castle. At the same time, we'll continue building fortifications at the Seljuks' front door, just in case they should try anything, while sending a group of trebuchets towards Red's last castle. We can then treb down Red's castle before his units are able to sally out to us, and when that occurs, Red and Reynald will become our allies. There's a close call with one of our trebuchets due to the alliance timing, but it's alright. We hastily attempt to finish our defenses on Green, and we'll succeed in doing so. He's going to attack us with camels, hussars, heavy scorpions, heavy cavalry archers, and trebuchets, so quite an assortment. Thankfully, with all of our bombard towers located here, we're able to take out a couple of siege workshops and mow down a lot of his units. And with the Crusaders' help, we're even able to pick off a couple trebuchets, keeping our defenses up just that little bit longer that they need. And at the same time, in a classic flanking maneuver, we'll go to his opposite side, build a castle there, as Red's troops now arrive and begin to push on Green's front door. We'll then build a second castle while bringing back our trebuchets from the Knights Templar's castle that we destroyed. Once they've arrived, we can use them to take out one of Green's 2 castles. This is part of his victory condition, and it'll limit him from building more trebuchets, which are obviously the biggest threat to our castles. And then, after some time of grinding away at him, we're able to push up with twin castles placed side by side before sallying out with our 5 trebuchets. It's a bit of a harrowing situation, as Green's got pretty much 1 trebuchet for every trebuchet we have, so we're attempting to repair our castle as Green rams come to ram our trebuchets. Thankfully, the Knights Templar are on point with their Teutonic Knights. We kill Green's castle, so he gets upset. He tries to resort to a treb war, but as long as we wheel away quick enough and repair our trebuchets, he can do no harm. Then, after a couple moments, he'll realize that we have won and will resign. Once he resigns, we just wait a moment or two, are deemed victorious, and complete the scenario with 0 units lost. In the 4th mission, we're going to switch things up a little bit. We're going to be focusing on one of the Armenians' main focus in this mission, that being Navy. However, Navy is very difficult for an Immortal player, and demolition ships are going to be our best friend and our worst enemy at the same time. We are asked where we want to land on the island, so we obviously choose the more aggressive placement and place Reynald on the other side. We are forced to snipe 9 Byzantine docks, so we start off by instantly taking out one with demolition ships after researching heavy demo. We'll then construct another bunch of demolition ships and head for another Byzantine dock. And while things might seem to be going well and easy right now, they're about to get up a lot harder, which is why we're trying to take out these docks right now to slow that Byzantine production. After taking out the second dock, we'll have to begin an evacuation to the mainland. Gather all units that we have on the island, along with the fishing ships that we started with, and we'll construct a few additional fire ships in order to help us versus any patrols we might encounter. We have two allies in this scenario. First is Reynald, who we placed on the more defensive side of the island, allowing him to boom and not get instantly wiped out, which is what happens if we were to choose the defensive area. And we have Alexandretta on mainland Syria where we've landed. We'll have to keep our starting ships alive, so we'll put them here on no attack stance, and as long as the Byzantines don't look to their left, our ships will manage to be okay here. We will build a couple towers to play it safe though, as well as beginning to rebuild our economy here. Once we've researched heated shots, our towers make quick work of the Byzantine ships. However, when necessary, we can use our own war galleys. As we can see on the main island, Reynald is dominating all of Cyprus, looting the villages and just spamming that Frank late game, which is obviously very good for us. Then, with the help of a couple of our infantry and a warrior priest to heal them, we'll take out a third Byzantine dock, while Reynald continues to wreak havoc on Nicosia. We can then build a bombard tower right here. This is going to enable us to free a shipbuilder. This shipbuilder knows the Byzantines' battle plans, which in-game equivalates to spies, which is going to be very good for sniping Byzantine docks with. While Red's only going to build a couple of ships as your typical campaign ally, Blue is going to totally surpass all of our expectations as he continues to hold the mainland and build his own navy. We have a close call with the Byzantine Droman, but thankfully we're able to withdraw. Now we've built plenty of towers, so our starting fleet is safe, as we obviously cannot lose it, and we can continue to build bombard towers in order to attempt to free the shipbuilder, who will be crucial towards our victory. Now, as I said earlier, demolition ships can be our best friend. Not only are they useful for sniping buildings, but also, when Byzantine ships stray too close, they're a quick, fast unit that can take out large groups of ships very well, and since it's magicians piloting the ship, they are not counting as casualties, they're simply vanishing into thin air with the smoke. Then take out the fourth Byzantine dock by simply building, once again, a bombard tower close by. As I've not yet mentioned in this scenario, but we are actually unable to build castles, which prevents us from the use of trebuchets. We've not yet figured out how to take the cannon from our bombard towers, which we have unlocked, and place it on the wheels as a bombard cannon, which we do not have in our tech tree. However, the tower works well and is able to destroy the dock and the surrounding ships. In the meantime, Reynald continues to do well on the island. However, Nicosia's castle is holding him back. There's a relic here in northern Syria that we can pick up with our warrior priest and bring back to our island, which is obviously going to be very helpful considering we cannot trade at the moment, it's too unsafe, and there are limited resources on this Syrian peninsula. While things have been looking safe, the Byzantines are actually going to begin landing troops onto our island, which is not at all good considering they'll bring siege with them as well, which is going to make very fast work of our fortifications since we can't build actual castles. However, once the Byzantine navy have expended all of their ranged units against our towers, I don't think someone explained to them that arrows don't really break stone, we can send forth our two-handed swordsmen to deal with the trebuchets. Another issue for us is going to be the Byzantine Dramans that outrange our towers. However, should we send out a couple of demolition ships and micro them just right, we're able to take them out. We're also going to begin attacking Teal's docks, as Teal will make military, not as much as the Byzantine navy, but he will produce ships, which obviously is not going to be good for us or Red. Byzantines will then once again attempt a landing. However, this time we channel our inner Tato and bring forth two demolition ships to make short work of his trebuchets. We then deal with a couple more Byzantine Dromans for expending the spares on the nearest Byzantine dock. Finally, with our last bombard tower, we'll be able to take out the last Byzantine navy's tower, granting us the shipbuilder, who of course gives us spies for the Byzantine navy. This will make demolition snipes much easier as we can see where the enemy are and where they are not, and it'll allow us to even build a couple of our own Dramans in order to help Reynald on the island. Also, if we're paying close attention, we can notice when the Byzantines are sending transports and send our own demolition ships in order to intercept which is obviously very good value. Then finish off the closest Byzantine dock with a single demolition ship. This now puts us at more than halfway to our main objective. However, those last couple docks on the far right side of the map are going to be a lot more difficult to take care of. Once we've taken out Teal's docks, Red has a sizable garrison navy, Reynald has a sizable garrison navy, we can move our original starting fleet, which obviously we're not going to be using, up into this corner here where it'll be safe. We'll then send out 4 dromons, which we will be using in order to aid Reynald. All the while sending our demo ships to intercept the transports from Pink. Now these dromons, they're going to be able to take out a couple of Green's economic buildings, as well as that infernal castle that was holding Reynald back from finally subjugating the northern side of the island. Once said castle is destroyed, with a couple more shots from our dromons and a couple more kills from Reynald's knights, Nicosia will resign, leaving just one more enemy on the island, and then Pink to the east. Using a couple of demos to deal with a pesky offshore Byzantine tower, we can use a couple Calviers we've made to kill these Byzantine drebs. It's a good thing we did this, as they outrange our towers and would be able to snowball back control of the mainland. The Treb's dead, the Byzantine opposition at the bottom of the map shows little to no resistance. We'll now make a couple siege workshops in order to finish off this castle with rams, because as mentioned, we cannot build trebuchets without castles, which are banned, and we cannot make bombard cannons because we have not figured out how to lift a cannon onto its wheels yet. Speaking of cannons, we'll kill the 6th Byzantine dock in the south, putting us 66% on the way to our goal. Dominating Cyprus on the ground, Reynald is also able to hold his own in naval combat against the Byzantines. We'll bring our dromons to the south, after destroying, as mentioned, that 6th Byzantine dock, where they can begin to harry Teal. Then, after building a couple of rams in order to take out that Byzantine castle, this is the average low ELO Arenas player's response to a castle drop. Normally it doesn't work, but we're going to get lucky, and it will. We'll destroy the Byzantine castle, while once again continuing to pelt Teal from the shoreline. The Armenians, their dromons are not only good for buildings, but with a bit of attack ground micro, can actually be fairly decent against Imperial Age units. So we're going to be helping Reynald. We're not really killing a lot of units here, but we're weakening them, which is actually going to add up. Since we've all watched Spirited Law, we know how Lanchester's laws affects units, so with his guys dying quicker, it's going to be a far worse fight for him. We'll then send demos to the top of the map. Now with careful precision, if these demos are sent to the right area, we should be able to take out our 7th Byzantine dock. And we achieve just that, as well as a nearby sea tower. This will send our dromons to finish off Teal's last castle, which, between Reynald and the dromons on the shoreline, will be able to quickly knock Teal out of the game, leaving just the Byzantine navy with 2 docks to oppose Reynald, Alexandrita, and of course, ourselves playing as an Immortal. Now before being able to focus down Pink and finish the game, we must first secure our coastline in order to prevent any accidental deaths from occurring with the Byzantine landings. So we'll build just a tower or 2 along here to make sure that no transport ships will be slipping past our coastal defenses. Again, a large number of demolition ships goes forth, crewed by the finest magicians we could summon from Armenia, and we knock out the 8th Byzantine dock without a statistics recorded casualty. Reynald watched the Byzantines landed transports on us, and he's had the genius idea to do it himself. However, he does not yet have naval superiority or coastline superiority, so he's going to lose said transport ships. Suddenly though, between Reynald investing on transport ships and us being focused on the north, a Byzantine fleet slips past and almost kills our starting ships. However, we're able to clutch up, and while some ships get very low, we do win the naval fight. For Reynald's sake and ego, the Byzantines are no better than him. As we can see, their transport sails forth, but is instantly shot by our towers and sunk. This of course makes Reynald feel much better. Only 1 dock left, and the Byzantines, having expended the majority of their fleet against Reynald's fleet just now, were able to take out some of his coastal defenses along the north. And this is actually rather big, as it allows Reynald's transports to have a chance at landing. Here it comes, his big army. Wait a minute, it's just a paladin. It's 1 paladin? This isn't going to do anything, Reynald. But you see that 1 paladin, it was a scout for a much larger force, and we can see just what Reynaud has in stock to the Byzantine navy's disarray, as maybe 10 paladins unload, along with the trebuchet even. Tanks are going to begin wreaking havoc on the Byzantines' mainland, allowing our dromans to continue clearing those coastal defenses and sink a couple ships. Then, with a bit of timing and luck, we'll be able to take our dromans, target the last remaining dock, which is already weak from a previous demo ship attempt, deal the final blow to the Byzantine dock. This knocks the Byzantine navy out of the game, but their fleet's not just done yet. We should be deemed victorious any moment, but unfortunately, one of our soldiers is talking too long. We'll have to micro our ships slightly while continuing to run away, and it gets close, but we are deemed victorious with 0 units lost. I'd say this was one of the most challenging scenarios to do as an Immortal, but Reynaud definitely carried with his 1200 kills, and Alexandrietta did not do bad with their couple ships. We can then begin the horrors of the 5th and final mission. Now, while I just said that the last one was the most difficult, I would say overall as a mission it was, but the first 15 minutes of this one are going to be horrible for someone attempting to do it as an Immortal. We begin penned in a little city, besieged on all sides by the Byzantines. We're forced to lure a couple of starting cataphracts out, and then kill them with our composite bowmen, which do remarkably well against these cataphracts, before then having to kill just a couple more, and then sally across the river towards the Byzantines' camp. Now, while that sounds absurd, Sun Tzu did say the best defense is a good offense, especially when you're trying to be an Immortal. We kill a couple crossbows that he's just built, as the Byzantines are going to begin building a huge army, and escape to this broken bridge here, where we'll leave the majority of our units for now. We then build a couple monks within our walls, where we can convert some Byzantine cataphracts. Thankfully, they have heresy, which kind of benefits us in this scenario, as when we convert them, they instantly die. So it's a way for us to kill a unit without getting really engaged from far away and fairly quick. We'll then send out a couple Cavaliers and Thoros himself, who must survive, as well as our castle within the walls, as we are simply waiting for our great ally Reynaud to arrive, which I'm certain he will with how good he was last time. Between our fortified churches with villagers and relics inside, and our monks converting units, we're able to reach the end of the timer. But wait! It turns out that Reynaud has regrettably betrayed us. It seems as if all is lost. We're stuck in the city, which is no longer ours as it switches to Tarsos, but a transport comes. A lone transport. We're able to load on the couple units we have, as all of the villagers will now switch back to Tarsos. However, we're going to leave the Cavaliers here, as they'll be crucial in what comes next. We're going to have to fight off all of the Byzantine troops that there were. And while that doesn't sound like a challenge, the composite bowmen are hard countered by Byzantine arbalests, which he has a lot of. So with some careful micro, healing from our warrior priests, bringing the Cavaliers forth, bit of luck, we're going to be able to defeat this Byzantine army, while Thoros himself has sailed north and ridden to Stephen's lands. Once there, the bridge repairs itself, we are given Stephen's base, and after killing a couple Seljuk marauders, are able to make it up with all these units safely, having escaped the city of Tarsos without a single casualty. Once arrived to our new village, we're going to have learned from the last city we had to defend and build our walls a little bit bigger this time so we can actually access resources within them and have a chance at defending them against our many enemies. Clearly, we're going to be given the objective, destroy the Byzantine castle in Tarsos to liberate Tarsos, and while I didn't do this, I think I must have gotten lucky somehow or a bug or something. The castle is destroyed, and Tarsos switches to ours as soon as we're given the objective. This is going to be very good. However, unfortunately, when the Seljuks choose to join into the fight en masse and are going to pretty much kill our ally Mle very quickly. Not only does Reynaud not come to our aid, he's actually going to go on the offensive against us, and quite a bit. We can spot with our ships going down the river, thankfully before it's too late, that he is fully sending like a big army towards us. However, we have a castle filled to the brim with archers, and we control the water with both demos and dromans, so he won't be able to hurt us too much. This is when Reynaud and the Seljuks offer us a truce. We can pick one between the two. However, we're going to pick Reynaud, as I'd say he's the more formidable opponent. However, if Reynaud wants to backstab us, we can do the exact same thing. By using attack ground on our dromans, we're able to severely cripple him, destroying both of his castles, both of his docks. By destroying the castles, we limit his ability to build trebuchets, and then even kill a couple paladins and villagers with the attack rounds when we get lucky. Promotion gets the Byzantines rather confused, and they're going to send a rather large army to our walls up here, where we have no castle. However, if we once again summon our inner Tato, we're able to land 2 beautiful demo ships, resulting in the total death of his army. Reynold then turns on us when he realizes what's happening, but it's a little bit too late. He's already lost pretty much everything of value to him that's rangeable within the coastline. Byzantines are going to feel scammed. They paid Reynold to help them, but Reynold's doing pretty much nothing. So they're going to come and attack our city on the western flank, where we haven't been attacked yet. So we'll build a defensive castle there, and after sallying out with Thoros himself to quickly kill one of the Byzantine trebuchets, we'll be good. Unfortunately, while things are going well for us, Malé is having a terrible time. His base is being overrun by the Selujuks, and I don't think he'll last much longer. Reynold's been as neutralized as he can be simply from the river line. We're able to send forth a couple demos in order to take out the majority of the Byzantine docks before sending just our Dromans to finish what's left. By doing this, we'll again be making a majority of the Byzantine army's buildings rangeable with our Dromans, allowing us to cripple him, and in turn allowing Tarso to kill him and finish the job, as our victory condition is to kill the Byzantines, the Seljuks, and Reynold. To build castles in this mission, it's almost better to rely on ships, as they, once massed, have an even higher attack than a castle and can maneuver up and down along the river, so we'll rely on that for defense on the eastern side, whilst going on the offensive in the west with the help of Tarsos, of course. Destroy this castle here and its buildings surrounding it, leaving the Byzantines with simply their camp in the very far left of the screen, but even that will not remain for long. Tarsos' siege and infantry, and between our trebuchets and castle drops, the Byzantine army are then taken out of the game, leaving just the crippled Reynold de Chatillon to finish, and Seljuks. Tarsos is going to attempt to attack Reynold on his own. They're going to be needing backup. So, we'll bring the fleet of galleons that we've amassed and park them along the sands of the river, where they'll be able to fire down upon any of Blue's troops that come too close to the water. Once this has been done, we can actually deploy our trebuchets along our ships, where any unit coming to attack the trebuchets is ranged by our ships, allowing us to take out one of Reynold's stables, which is going to be very useful as it'll slow production of Frankish paladins. Use our own squadron of our own cavaliers, which of course will not compare to the Frankish paladins in a fight, but in order to lure the Frankish army towards our ships where they can be attacked, before then healing all of those knights with warrior monks, and then sending them back into the fray, again, not for the purpose of killing enemy units, but to loop around Reynold's base and kill his villagers, as once he has less than 3, he will resign, causing him to delete all of his military units and buildings, granting us 3 relics here, and once again knocking out another enemy, leaving just the Seljuks. Strike fast and knock out a couple of the Seljuks' production buildings while holding their large army at bay with our ships. Tarsos will also come to our aid. They won't be doing much though, as it's archer units against buildings. We'll have to drop a forward castle from where our troops will operate, using a sneaky trick where we don't actually complete our walls, but leave a gap up at the top, which will cause the Seljuks to pass through there. Thanks D, they'll march an absurd direction past all of our galleons, where of course they'll be fired upon and killed without us being at any worry of losing any units. In order to attack the Seljuks' nearest castle, we'll have to go forward with a couple towers. Well, I did probably overdo it. I wanted to play it safe. So, we build bombard towers, regular towers, and, in the end, even walls in front of them to ensure that our trebuchets will be safe. Our investment has a large ROI, as we are able to take out the Seljuks' castles. We have a close call with some of their capped rams, but by spam clicking our trebuchets and sweating profusely, we're able to escape their units, allowing our cavaliers to kill the rams and our trebuchets to be repaired before sending them forth again to finish off the Seljuk castle. Attack the Seljuks from the north, so we'll send a couple of villagers, do the regular routine, walls first this time, and instead of towers, just a good old classic castle, then bring the trebuchets in, destroy this castle here, leaving the Seljuks with no defenses really against our Cavaliers. Between Tarsos' large archer mass and our Cavaliers, we're able to finish off their buildings and units, causing the Seljuks to resign, leaving us as the sole victor, with Tarsos of course, but they're an AI so they don't count, as this scenario without a single loss. We still have our transport ship from the beginning, the dromons we used against the Franks, the fire ships to protect said dromons, our villagers up north. But what's this? A Frankish castle? It's one of our castles, but flying the Frankish standard, so we delete it to prevent any uproar from the Franks. We are then deemed victorious with a whopping 1178 kills, but not a single unit lost. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope you guys all have a good one.